Welcome to Oil and Gas Investor Live Insights. I'm Richard Mason, Chief Technical Director Upstream with Hart Energy, and I have with me today Mike Mueller, who's Vice President of Analysis with MicroSeismic, a leading edge company in terms of the rapidly evolving microseismic industry here. Mike, we might start with just a capsule description of MicroSeismic.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, a capsule description of MicroSeismic is that it's a company that was founded in 2003, so it's a relatively new entrant into the microseismic market. The market before MicroSeismic Inc. was dominated by downhole, borehole-based services, and they've been around for about 25 years. So MicroSeismic Inc. came in about 2003 with a concept of trying surface and near-surface methods, not downhole methods, allowing one to not have to rely on monitor wells, and allowing also the ability to cover large areas in terms of monitoring. The initial phase of the company took us probably up to 2008, and then we were able to transition. We got the workflows, we understood what we were doing, and it's really been in a commercial scale-up kind of business since 2009.
You're discussing something that's really quite revolutionary, and as you said before, previously you needed a monitor well to essentially track what was happening in real time with these fracture stimulations. You all can dispense with that, and you are actually using or are able to monitor this on using the surface. You might describe how that evolution came about, because I would think that's a differentiator in this particular business.
Indeed, I think it is a big differentiator. We use surface seismic technology, either in a laydown and pickup on the actual surface, where crews, just like in active seismic, will go out and lay out seismic equipment. We will record during a frac operation, typically, and then pick that equipment up and go home and do our business. We also have a permanent installation where we will install a near-surface grid array. These grid arrays can scale as large as you like. Our largest array that's been installed is 152 square miles, and allows one to not only monitor well by well and stage by stage in a fracture operation, but across an entire field. And the key is no boreholes are needed, no monitor wells. In fact, the cost breakover between a either laydown and pickup system or a permanently installed system is these systems cost 1 to 2 monitor wells typically. And so if you have a large area, like I mentioned, the 152 square mile area, there are literally hundreds of well locations you can occupy for the cost of 1 or 2 monitor wells.
And I would think in a new area, developing frontier area, where there may not be a lot of additional wells close by, that this enables people to get sort of a jump on this development process that we see with unconventional oil and gas.
Yes, it does allow you to get a jump on, and very typically it'll be in that laydown and pickup FracStar product that we offer. An operator will go into a new area, they have acreage position, and they're wanting to understand, how do I start developing, how do I test my development plan? Well, we will work with that operator to understand their issues, and we can site these laydown systems at the pad, and those systems will also cover areas going beyond the pad, covering their horizontal boreholes and beyond, which allows us to not only understand what's happening actually at the stimulation job itself, stage by stage, but also what's happening in the area. And very often that's very interesting for operators, because there can be surprises in stimulation jobs.
I would think so. And then there are other attributes that would make this advantageous. One would be, you know, there's a lot of traffic, other types of things. People are concerned about potential contamination. Yesterday at NAPE, we heard an entire session on the worries of individuals with communication between what's happening downstage or downhole with the fracture versus what's potential water supplies on the surface. You all then can demonstrate that there is no communication, you know, so it's not just for oil and gas, but those people who may be worried about oil and gas activity.
Indeed, and the environmental angle is very important, both for operators and for regulatory bodies and the public. One of the strengths of the method that we use is because we have these surface or near-surface deployments, and we do not depend on proximity to the action to see what's happening, we actually can investigate or image throughout the entire subsurface volume. And so one of the key issues that some public is concerned about is, well, would a stimulation job at whatever depth it's occurring at, 5,000, 8,000, 10,000 feet, would that affect groundwater? Well, we can tell where the stimulation job is going, and we can tell where it's not going. We actually have the proactive capability of imaging throughout the subsurface volume, so we can be definitive in knowing it didn't go there and it did go where you want it to go. And so we can actually address those concerns, I think, straight away.
Y'all are also participating in a very fascinating change, and that is at one time this type of technology, and I'm not mentioning the surface, but microseismic in general, is absolutely crucial to unconventional oil and gas development, but it was sort of captive in a proprietary manner with some of the largest service companies. But what we're seeing now, and I think y'all would be an example of this, and I'd be interested in your observation, is we're sort of leveling the playing field. That is, you don't have to be associated with a particular vendor in terms of well site services in order to get the technology you need to understand how to develop your particular properties.
Yeah, indeed. We like to refer to MicroSeismic Inc. as an agnostic provider. We're independent. We are not part of a larger frac operation. Some of the competitors in this space are divisions of frac operators themselves, and so the monitoring job is sort of tacked on to the stimulation job. By being independent, of course, there is the implication that, well, you can address things objectively. There's no kind of buy-in or relationship there. And also, because of the fundamental capabilities of the methodology, we can go beyond just the details of the stimulation job itself to looking at the impact on the reservoir and impact in the overburden, if there is any impact, and understand the full response, the full system. So I think that that's also very compelling for our operators, and they oftentimes speak to that when they commission us.
Yeah, let's explore that a little more, because typically you think of microseismic as an event-driven technology. That is, during the fracture process, we're using this as a tool to understand what's happening. But what you're sort of describing, if I'm understanding this correctly, is reservoir management, that there is a longer term, a tail end beyond just the event itself, in which this is a tool for customers.
Well, indeed, you know, there's two aspects of the business, right? There is you get the acreage position, you're going to develop, and then once you have developed, you have a life of field challenge in front of you. As I mentioned, we do offer permanent installations, and we have actually 30 of those permanent installations now installed across North America. And with those permanent installations, we're able to monitor not only the development phase of the operation, but the overall life of field reservoir management, stress management. Through that kind of application, things like bypass zones are readily identified. Opportunities to infill drill are identified. And in fact, in one of our clients, we've been able to help them to identify an almost doubling of gross well opportunities in a mature area, a mature shale development.
Mm-hmm. In fact, that becomes very important because of the pricing situation we're seeing with natural gas. Although oil, we're all geniuses at $100 oil, you know. Maybe we're not so smart at $2 gas sometimes, but anyway, this seems to be almost a disruptive type of technology that is available. It's an innovation that I think enables the industry to move forward more quickly to bring value forward for customers, and ultimately, you know, bringing energy to the public is a good thing for our economy.
Well, indeed. So shale plays, the shale gal plays, whether you're talking about shale gas or shale oil, are characterized in this way. They're very, very large aerially, and companies will have oftentimes thousands upon thousands of acreage parcels covering even multi-state positions. And so some of the characteristics of that kind of challenge is that, well, first of all, shales are highly variable. And because of the variability, initial production and decline rates can vary. And so an operator clearly, when they're defining an investment opportunity, they would like to have predictability in, I make this investment, I know what I can get in terms of production, and I can monetize that investment. Well, with such a large opportunity, an operator might be attracted to having a cookie cutter or factory approach to the many thousands of wells that they need to drill and the tens of thousands of stages they need to stimulate. So by monitoring and being able to monitor over a large area, you can actually go into and look under the hood, if you will, of that cookie cutter approach, helping to update plans and try to maintain and maximize the ultimate IPs and decline rate over the life of field to optimize your return on investment.
Absolutely. You know, one of the fascinating things is we've discussed EURs and so on, but this still tends to be theoretical. We don't have enough data, and it might take years normally to accumulate that data, but it sounds like this process may shorten that cycle, so we get a better feel for what the ultimate estimated ultimate recovery might be.
Yeah, you know, I like to look at it this way. When you can't predict, you need to get information, you need to monitor. And you know, this is what we do in many ways in our lives. You know, there may be a pedestrian mall. In downtown Denver, there's a pedestrian mall. You'd like to have that be a safe place. Well, how do you do that? You put cameras out. In an oil and gas unconventional opportunity, you know that you're going to be stuck with a possible variable response. What do? You monitor and you get information to inform what's really happening in the subsurface.
Mm-hmm. Benefits for shareholders or, you know, other stakeholders in the process beyond just the oil and gas operator themselves.
Absolutely. Shareholders want to know when we're funding opportunities to develop, what's my return going to be? We hope that we can help address and minimize those bad surprises when maybe production is not coming on quite as nice as you like, or it's highly variable. One thing that you look at league tables of early shale play productivity, and it's very common to see a very, very highly productive well essentially immediately next to a not so productive well.
Shale plays are homogeneous in their heterogeneity.
That's correct.
On that. I wonder if there's some other highlights you might hit as we kind of wind this down.
Well, we think that the future of this business is in the idea of drilling, stimulating, and monitoring. We would like the paradigm, we do see it in the media, we see it in our operator's approach of obviously drilling and stimulating, horizontal wells and then stimulate. Because of the challenges around the variability, because of the challenges in terms of life of field, we would like to see that extend to the monitoring piece. So horizontal drilling, stimulating, and monitoring. The payback for that is better predictability, identification of bypass, opportunity to redevelop, and fully explore and fully touch all of that unconventional reservoir.
Well, Mike, that's an excellent job. It's a product that sells itself. We'd like to thank you for participating in Oil and Gas Investor Live Insights, and if you have a chance, come see us at NAPE.